Welcome to Daily Devotion. Today I'm going to talk about and react to Who Dares Say He Believes in God by Jordan Peterson. This is a very interesting video that I believe we can learn and actually extract biblical principles from, because what I'm understanding from this video is that Jordan Peterson uses biblical principles to break down certain things that he believes a Christian should and must be acting like. So let's watch the video.
So then the question came to me, do I believe in God? And I don't like that question. And people have complained at me a lot, and I'm sure they have their reasons because they don't like my answers, and I have two answers. They've kind of become stock, which is not a good thing. But they're the best approximate. I can't figure out why I don't like the question exactly. I had three sort of burgeoning hypotheses. One was, it's none of your damn business. That's the first one. So it's like a privacy issue. Like, it seemed to me to be a question that was too private to be answered properly. And so, you could consider that a cop-out, and maybe it is. And then
It does sound a bit like a cop-out. It's interesting because I think Jordan Peterson has very strong opinions on certain things, like when he debates with people that talk about feminism, or when he talks about politics. He has very strong views. But when it comes to believing in God, it does seem like a cop-out because he doesn't really express or tries to answer the question about it. He just dances his way around it, and you will see how he does it. It's quite interesting.
another one was, well, what do you mean by believe? Like, do you mean the words? Do you mean to say the words, I believe in God? Does that indicate that you believe in God? Like, I don't know what you mean by believe exactly, because, and that's got me in trouble too, because, people think that attempting to clarify the meaning of words is an attempt to escape from the question, when it's actually an attempt to specify the question. I mean, is what you believe what you say, or what you act out?
I think this is going to be an interesting view. If you continue watching this part, I think what Jordan Peterson talks about a very, very close concept to sanctification. And I think many people may not realize this, but the examples they give are extremely biblical.
Now, I would say to some degree it's both, but if push comes to shove, as far as I'm concerned, what you believe is what you act out, not what you say. And and if you're an integrated person, then what you act out and what you say are the same thing, and then you're a person whose word can be trusted, right? Because what you say and what you do are isomorphic, they're the same thing.
So that is an interesting point that brings us, if you read James, it says you can't just be hearers of the word, but you have to be doers of the word. Faith without works is dead. So I think essentially what James is trying to put out is that if you really believe in Christ, you have to do the works of Christ. Not have in terms of like you force yourself to do it, but it's a cause and effect relationship, that because you are Christian, you will follow the laws of Christ. You will do it. You will sometimes, maybe you have to force yourself, but you will do it regardless.
But belief is instantiated in action. So I have also suggested that I act as if I believe in God, or to the best of my ability. And people aren't very happy with that either. And then the third is that I'm afraid that he might exist, which I think is the most comical of the three answers and perhaps the most accurate one. But then I was thinking about this today when I was thinking about what I might talk to you guys about, and I thought, well, let's go into this a little bit more. Let's say you do believe in God. Say, I believe in God. It's like, okay, well, that's hypothetically pretty impressive, I would say. It's like you believe that there's a divine power that oversees everything, that is fundamentally ethical, that's watching everything you do, and you believe that. And so what effect does that have on your behavior?
So this is actually quite a very interesting way that Jordan Peterson puts it. He says that there is amazing for a person to be able to claim that they believe in God, because it's such an abstract concept. I think what he's trying to point out also is the fact that I think it goes by a closely scientific method, whereby he needs to be able to see things observably as well as physically, meaning in the sense that he needs to be able to see certain things and therefore claim certain things. The example that he gives is very strong imagery as well. He gives the imagery because whatever that he sees, therefore he can believe. So yeah, so definitely for him it's a very monumental task to be able to claim that you believe in God.
If you believe it, does that mean that you're, well, are you all in on your beliefs? Are you sacrificing everything to this transcendent entity that you proclaim belief in? Have you cleansed yourself of all your sin, let's say? Are you making all the sacrifices that you need to make? Like, have you taken the mote out of your eye? No. Or are you in the same situation, let's say, that the Catholic Church seems to be in right now? Just out of curiosity, it's a good time to bring that up, since the Pope seems to be concerned with what's been happening with the Catholic Church, given the endless pedophilic scandals, let's say, which seem rather serious in my estimation, and might have been something that was cleaned up perhaps 100 or 1,000 years ago, and it's being taken seriously perhaps now, and perhaps not, because it's not so easy to determine exactly what it would mean to take that seriously. And you might say, well, are all the people who are committing these heinous actions and then covering them up, if you ask them, well, do you believe in God? What are they going to say? Well, you'd think the answer would be yes, given that they're like priests, and yet, what's the evidence? Well, the evidence isn't exactly so clear that the mere statement, let's say, or the mere acting out of the ritual, let's say, and I'm not trying to denigrate the statement or the ritual, but I'm pointing out that that's no indication of you're right to say that you believe, because you got to, and I think this is why it's bothered me to answer this question. It's like, well, what right do I have to say that? To make
I think this is quite interesting statement, because right now he is questioning the claims of other people, whether they are Christians, based on their actions. So he's questioning the popes or the Catholics regarding their actions, whether they can be called Christians. So this is quite an interesting way, because what's happening is that he's judging people whether they are Christians, when in actual fact they are judging him being Christian. So it's indeed a very tough and impossible way for us to judge who is Christian. If you think about it, how can I judge other people being Christian? Like, I can judge, but my judgment can be false. I can say that, oh, I don't think he's a Christian because he did certain things, but in actual fact we would not know. And I think it is not mandatory for us to know who is Christian or who accepts God, but God is the only one that can sort of know these things, because I think the Bible does say that God has the ability to blot people out from the book of life. So God seems to be the only one that can comprehend these things. If we could comprehend these things, we would be God itself already. So yeah. So I think Jordan Peterson goes on to talk about a lot about how people's actions must equate with their words. So for people who say they believe in God, they have to hate sin, they have to abhor sin, and then as well as listen to the things that God says in the Bible.
make that claim, I believe in God. Well, what's the claim? Is that the claim that I'm a good person somehow? Because you'd think that if you believed in God, actually, like seriously, that you'd be a good person, like right now, because, well, for obvious reasons.
I think if it's not obvious, I think what Jordan Peterson is trying to say is that if you really believe in a God that is omnipresent, omnipotent, you would instantly become a good person, because this is a God that actually observes you. I mean, if you talk in terms of the Judeo-Christian God, it's a God that observes people, and it's a God that knows what people are doing and knows the heart of men. So what he's saying is that if you really believe that there is a person that is watching you, then you will definitely do the right thing all the time, because if you fully believe in it, that's what should reflect in your actions.
I would think. And so, if that hasn't happened in some sort of miraculous sense, so that you're the best person you could possibly imagine being on an ongoing basis, and then terrified of deviating from that path in a serious manner, then I don't see why you have the right to say that you believe in God. You know, one of the things Nietzsche said about Christianity, he was a great critic of Christianity, although also a great friend in a very peculiar way, in that sometimes your best friend is the one who points out your weakest properties, let's say. He said, as far as he was concerned, there was only one Christian, and he died on the cross. And that's a, you know, perhaps an extreme statement, but
I think that statement doesn't really make any sense. I think they don't understand, like Nietzsche didn't. If Nietzsche really said that, I don't think he really understand the fundamental idea of what it means to be a Christian. So what he Christians can be people that are following the words of Christ or the teachings of Christ, meaning that Christ himself can be a Christian. But at the same time, people that follow what Christ teaches are also Christians. So his argument is whether we have to constantly follow the things of Christ all the time. So that is, I believe that is yes, but there are also certain things that are not explicitly taught in the Bible. There are certain topics that are not explicitly said in the Bible, even though there are certain things that are very clear. So in that, some people may try to guess other people's actions based on what is implicit in the Bible. So there is certainly some gray areas in action when it comes to Christians, because the Bible is not originally written for every single action that a man should do, but there are certain actions that are specific, but there are also broader biblical principles that people can act according to. So I think the question that is being raised is why is the Bible not as clear as it's supposed to be? Why doesn't it have all the instructions that is written? And I think at the ending of the Gospel of John, it does say that if everything about Jesus, all his good works are written, it won't be able to contain in the book of John. I think that is true, because there are really too many possibilities to do certain. If God really wanted to create a Bible to address every single issue and every single topic, then he would just make a very, very huge book, but that's not the case. Yeah, and therefore I think it also comes to prayer, whereby prayer is something that requires reliance on God and requires a constant seeking of God. Because I think the fundamental thing that Jordan Peterson did not address here, or he maybe he knows but he doesn't talk about it, is about the fact that Judeo-Christian worldview focuses on a relationship, not an action-based religion. And he puts it and equates Christianity in a box whereby it's equal to other religions that require works or require their actions to show that they believe. But that's not the Judeo-Christian worldview. It's a relationship, and in all relationships there will be problems and there will be failures, especially when one party is weaker than the other. So I think Jordan Peterson's view, especially when he did the biblical series, is very heavily focused on the Christian perspective of the Old Testament only, or more just Judaism. So I can't really comment whether he's a Christian, but I think there is some interesting thoughts. And I think one takeaway from this thing that this is that a Christian needs to lead a life that is sinless in order to claim that he's a Christian. But I think that is partially true, because the life of a Christian written biblically is not that we must do all these things we must be a sinner, but we will lead a sinless life, or we will lead a life that is for God. Not a sinless life, because we still have sin in the flesh, but we will be able to lead a close to sinless life because there is a God that strengthens and carries us through it. Yeah, so if you like this kind of videos about apologetics and biblical living, don't forget to subscribe and like so I can send this information out to more people that actually need it. Thank you and God bless.